Morning, everybody. Most of you received your press releases last night. If not, we had.
Hey, I'm feeding right now.
If not, we had a discussion.
Okay.
If not, we had a discussion at some point during the evening last night where we announced the arrests of Stephen Howells, age 39, and Nicole Basie, age 25, all from St. Lawrence, both from St. Lawrence County. And we talked about the fact that they were arrested for the kidnapping charges of the two Amish girls that have been part of this investigation. And I'll take your questions.
Sheriff, you really credited the girls last night making the arrest possible. Can you elaborate on why?
The fact that the girls were strong, they were able to verbalize to the investigators some different facts about their time in captivity, and with those details, was instrumental in us being able to make the arrest with this team behind me and all the other agencies that were involved, to be able to put it together to have some idea of where to start, and then once we're there, to be able to verify details.
So can you outline exactly how the girls
Escaped in the fact that they were dropped off by their captors in the area that was originally described in the town of DeKalb, the hamlet of Bigelow, and then they went to a door and knocked on that door, and that person that was identified previously took them to their residence.
Have you been able to determine why they dropped them off?
Those are details that are going to stay as part of the investigation.
Sheriff, do you know any possible motive here?
The motive was to victimize, to take these girls from their home and to victimize these girls.
Were they targeted specifically?
Only in the fact that it was the opportunity with the situation that the Amish roadside stand situation put for them.
What other charges might we see against these suspects, particularly on the federal side?
There'll be other charges that'll come out here as we move forward. We have to see what the evidence at the other crime scene in the town of Herman presents itself, and then we'll look at that in regards to, and maybe some of my federal partners can talk about that, but that will come forward here at some point.
And what is the status of that crime scene?
Go ahead.
What is the status of that crime scene? Where are you on the search?
It's still within our control, and it will be within our control for quite a period of time as we continue to process evidence at that scene.
We heard rumors that the kidnappers used dogs to lure them into the car. Is that true?
There was probably a couple of different ways of coercion that were utilized, but nothing that we want to go into details about at this time.
How long were the girls in Bigelow, all told? I mean, when they were dropped off, how long were they there before they...
It was a short period of time.
What can you tell us about the suspects? We understand the male suspect works at Claxton Hepburn. I mean, what can you tell us about who they are?
Who they are? They're local people who have worked in the North Country and worked in various locations. There's some roots back through family and to the county. They've been here a while.
Lifelong residents?
I don't know about lifelong, but they've been here quite a while.
Do you know what they do for a living?
They work in the one's an RN and the other works in pet grooming.
Given
These girls were particularly vulnerable because they were Amish?
They're vulnerable because they're children, and that's something that we all need to be aware of.
Given the co-defendants' access to medical supplies, was any drugs involved?
There's several things that are part of this investigation that are being looked at this time, and but they're not details that we're going to be giving out.
So were these suspects specifically targeting Amish girls?
They were targeting opportunities. It wouldn't have had to have been just an Amish child.
Is there any evidence that there might be other victims out there in the past?
We're looking into all aspects of that to see if there is any other victims.
Have these suspects been on your radar before?
No.
An agent told us last night that the girls, in coming forward with all their information, saved a lot of girls also. Can you elaborate on that?
We feel that there was the definite potential that there was going to be other victims from these two.
But you do not know that this is or is not their first.
We're looking at all possibilities.
Why do you say definite potential?
Definite potential because of what came out of our interviews with them, and for the way that this was planned out, and for some of the other aspects that we've seen.
How was it planned?
There was a lot of thought process went into this.
Were they canvassing that specific area?
They were looking for opportunities to victimize.
So this was not a spontaneous happening upon these girls. This was planned out. Is that?
I can safely say that.
Sheriff, we understand there were three children who lived with the suspects. Are the
There was no other children in the home. There's no other children that are residing there at this time.
Are there? Do the suspects have children?
I believe one of the suspects has children.
What's the status of those children? Are they involved?
They're with another parent.
How would you characterize the relationship with the dynamic between the two suspects?
There were a couple. There were a couple and have been a couple for over a year and a half.
The woman indicated that she was sort of a victim in the crime, or her lawyer did. Is there any reason to believe that she was complicit in these acts, or is
I'm not aware of any of the statements, but we've arrested the right two people here, and both of them are highly involved.
Did they both release the two victims? Did they both drop them off, or was it just one?
They were both involved. They were both involved in this complete scenario.
Can you talk about why two cars and how like what the point of these two cars were? Like originally we thought it was one vehicle. Was there like a plan that was interrupted?
Many couples, many families have multiple vehicles, and that's just the way it worked out.
But it wasn't as though there was something that was interrupted that was going to happen with the two vehicles going forward?
Just happens to be two vehicles are involved in the investigation.
Just to be clear, Chef, they brought the victims back to their house after the kidnapping?
Yes, we have two crime scenes. We have the initial abduction, and then the house at 1380 County Route 21, Herman.
And that's where they brought the girls?
That's our other crime scene.
And there's no other facilities or buildings or?
Nothing that we're involved in at this point.
So there wasn't an abandoned building or?
Nothing else we're involved in at this point. Do you guys have anything?
Will there be other charges other than the kidnapping?
There will be other charges coming forth that we anticipate, and again, we're looking at the option and possibility of there being federal charges.
Yeah. Sheriff, I have to ask, I know this is sensitive given the fact that these are young girls, but you said they were victimized. Can you tell us anything more about that?
No details that we're going to release. And but there will be things that I'm sure will come out in court documents, and there'll be things that will coming out in the future. And but at this point, this is the amount of information we're going to release, because we still have an active investigation. We still have investigators that are on the street and are doing interviews, and we don't want to taint any of those interviews that may be forthcoming.
Can you speak to any evidence that you're actively looking for specifically at this point?
Well, we're looking for anything and everything that can talk about the backgrounds of the two individuals, where they've been over the years, what else have they done, who else have they been involved in their lives with, and we'll go from there and see. We're looking for other victims possibly. We're looking for evidence of this crime, and just keep moving forward until we feel that we've got everything we can get.
Were they responsive to questioning? Did they admit to the crime?
They have been cooperative interviews in the fact that we have gained. We've moved ahead and to the point where they've been arrested.
So no confession?
There's been details provided to us, yes. Anybody else? The possible charges of the federal charges?
So at this point, there are no federal charges. The United States Attorney's Office from the Northern District of New York is working closely with the St. Lawrence County Prosecutor's Office. As the investigation unfolds, there'll be a determination made then whether or not there'll be federal charges. But at this point, there aren't.
And what's the timeline for something like that?
No, it just depends on how the evidence unfolds, things that we get from the search warrant.
And your name?
My name is Andrew Hale.
How do you spell your last name?
He is in Victor, ALE, special agent in charge for the Albany Division of the FBI that covers this area.
Sheriff, have you, or I assume someone obviously from the Sheriff's Department has spoken to the family, can you characterize their, I guess, emotions, further developments?
Emotions that you would expect, shock and disbelief, but everybody's been cooperative with us at this point from the different families.
Sheriff, when I asked you before how long the girls were actually in captivity, or whatever phrase we can agree on, you said a short amount of time. Can you be a little more specific?
Well, your question, I believe, was how long were they at the Bigelow location?
Yeah.
And the Bigelow location is where they were actually walked to a residence. and that was just a short period of time. The rest of it was during the entire time period that they were away from their parents. They were with their captors.
Why did the suspects decide to drop off the girls at that particular moment in time?
No details that can be given out on that, and some of that's still trying to be figured out.
Do you think it was the intensity of the search effort at all? Did that have anything to do with it?
There was a lot of media coverage, and there was a lot of police presence and assets utilized, and that has all been factors that came into being able to make these arrests and get the girls gone.
Is it possible that other people might be involved, through the internet, through other means?
At this point, there's no other suspects that we're looking for, but that doesn't mean that the investigation might not take us a different direction.
Does the girls' Amish beliefs, is there any difficulty getting them in front of a grand jury, getting them to testify?
At this point, the family has been very cooperative, and we appreciate that very much.
Can you speak to how, was this a more difficult investigation for your department because they were on?
This was a difficult investigation regardless of who the victims would have been. All right, folks, unless you have something for our partners here, any other questions?
Can you say, did the girls suffer any kind of injuries? Were they...
The girls have been victims of crimes, and that's the only details that we're going to give out at this time.
Were the girls able to lead you directly to that house?
Through information that they provided, and then a lot of police work from a lot of different agencies. That's how we got to the resident.
What you say? What through information?
Details, just details, picture details. The things that people see, things people hear, distances that people anticipate, those types of details.
And knowing the cars you were looking for, once they led you to that area, were you able to notice, okay, red car, white car, the zeroing in on this?
A lot, like I said, a lot of work from our law enforcement partners and with us, and just good police work. But without their information, we wouldn't have been able to utilize our skills.
Can you tell us a little bit about the arrest? Did they try to flee? Did they try to resist?
No, there was an initial just conversation with them at the suspect's residence.
Were the suspects known to the girls prior to...
No.
What about vice versa?
No.
Mary, what can you tell us about what we can expect in the next week or two? Will there definitely be a preliminary hearing, or do you think there might be anything?
There's a preliminary hearing scheduled for next Thursday at 4 p.m. At that time, I have to present evidence to the court sufficient enough to establish that they have committed a felony.
And then what happens after that?
Then they will be held in the county jail. It will be before the county court judge, it goes to a more superior judge, and there are grand jury presentments, motions, hearings, trials.
How separate will the trials be of the two?
I don't think they'll be separate at this point. I think that the trials will occur at the same time. There's no reason to separate the defendants that I can see, but that's a motion for the defense to make.
Do you anticipate the same lawyer for both of them?
No, two different lawyers in this situation have been assigned, and I think that they may have some varying defenses, so I think that they'll keep their separate lawyers.
Can either of you speak to the cooperation between all of the agencies? I mean, this was such a quick response between the DA's office, the sheriff's office, and all the other agencies. It's quite it was quite shocking to hear, but then quite amazing to see the response.
It's the way the system is supposed to work. There's no adversarial issues between any agencies, as you can see, and you've seen over the last few days the amount of different federal, state, county, local police agencies. Offers that agencies we didn't even utilize. If the search had gone on for a longer period, there was assets coming in from multiple counties around us, and that's everything from not only manpower but also equipment, anything you can think of. So it's the way it's supposed to work, and it does work that way. We're a small law enforcement agency, and it's nothing we hesitate to do. We utilize the resources of the state police and the FBI. And they're awesome partners, and I can't thank everybody enough, because our people, we have really, really good people that work at the sheriff's office, and we have really good investigators, but at the same time, we know, that when certain things reach a certain scale, that it's time to reach out for other assets.
Either of you two have any prior involvement with law enforcement, any prior arrests?
Nothing that's been indicated at this time.
And the man, he's the pet groomer, I take it? And,
no, the male is the nurse, and the female's the pet groomer.
And the rest was made pretty quickly. What do you attribute the fast?
just the way the set of circumstances came together. Once those set of circumstances came together, then we were able to put this together quickly, which is surprising in itself, but it's just the set of circumstances that brought us out.
It's not just one thing.
No, not at all. It's multifaceted. It's good work from the people that aren't standing just behind me. You know, they're standing over here on the street. That are standing, you know, that are still trying to grab some sleep because they were here all night. And we thank your cooperation. You've been patient throughout this whole process, and so unless there's really some pointed further questions that we haven't covered.
Can you just confirm that Owl's work at Claxton Peppers?
That is the information that's been provided to me. Yes. Anything else?
I'm very curious, who on the task force was the initial conversation with the couple? Which part of the task force made that? You had that first conversation with them?
The first conversation would have been our investigators and the FBI agents that went to the door. Any other questions? Thank you, folks. There won't be any other briefings. Anything else will come out in press releases and court documents and appearances. Okay? Anybody else?
I do want to thank the media. There are several of you who had breaking news, and I asked you to hold off on breaking that news because it would compromise the investigation. So I thank all of you who did hold off on the news that you had so that we could complete our investigation and not have it compromised. I do appreciate that.
Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.